start with the pledge. And I hope that everybody will join us in this pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Now, we'll start with introductions. I'm Candace Payne. I'm chair of the Lewis and Clark County Commission this year. To my left is County Commissioner Tom Rolfe. To his left is Chief Administrative Officer Roger Balls. He keeps this in mind. To my right is Audra Zackrell, and she is representing the Public Works Department, fixing the roads and stuff. And new to our group is Sage Faircloud, and Sage is here on behalf of the Sheriff's Office, and he's new, and so we all have to kind of help him do his work. You know, he's a good man, and he tries the best he can, and so anyway, welcome Sage. Then we have public health people. There's a former county commissioner getting her flu shot. Susan!
She's getting a flu shot.
Susan Good-Geesey. She was one of
An
the
extra
ones.
bonus, Lewis and Clark County provides everything, right?
We do. And anyway, so this is Amber and the friends from the health department are helping with putting together this opportunity to get your inoculations. If I introduce everybody? Okay. Then, attendees, please, there's a sign-in sheet here. If you're attending, please sign it. And then you can have an agenda, and you can make that into paper airplanes, or you can use it to write notes on, or whatever you want, but at least you'll be fully informed. There. We will start this off with, how about the Public Works report first, so that Sage will have some idea as to what we expect. That's a good idea. And that way you can see that nobody's gonna throw it. Usually. Audra Zackrell will start the reports.
Thank you, Chair Payne. Good morning. I'm Audra Zackrell. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works here for Lewis and Clark County. I am representing Public Works today in place of our Director of Jenna Chambers, who you're probably used to seeing at these meetings. I have a pretty brief update for you this morning. We've had such a beautiful fall that our shop maintenance crew has been able to get our snow plows ready for the winter season. You may have noticed that we brought up the plow for Augusta here this past week. It's one of our brand new plows. It took us about 4 years to put together, mostly because it took a long time to get the plow cabin chassis. But I think Lewis will be pretty excited to be able to drive a brand new truck. And just for the public's information, we put our plows together because we can't buy a plow that is set up for county road conditions. Like the state plows do highways and the city plows do municipal roads, but county plows have to kind of be more versatile. So we have to buy all the components that are needed for the plow, and then we have an upfitter build the truck for us. So it does take a little extra time than just going to a car lot and saying we want that plow. So it's been a several-year project, and this truck that Lewis is going to get to drive is about $234,000 piece of equipment. So we got four new trucks in the last couple of years, and each one costs quite a bit of money. So we're pretty excited about that. And, on another note with snow plowing, Mr. Bonzer has agreed to come back to for the season and help Lewis plow. So that was good news for us. I also wanted everybody to know that snow removal, there will be coverage here at the community center over the winter. The solid waste crew from the transfer site has agreed to continue doing the snow removal here at the community center. Until the snow flies, grading will continue until we have a ground freeze. So you'll still see Lewis running around grading. Another update on bridges. We're in the process of procuring for a consultant to design the Augusta Clemens Bridge. We've received 50% of the funding for that bridge from the Montana Department of Commerce Coal Endowment Program, and the other 50% is from the Senate Bill 536 funds. So that's 100% of that bridge that the county didn't have to come up with funding for. They're just going to have staff managing those grants. Once we select the consultant and we have them under contract, we'll start the startup requirements for those grants. And one of the requirements is putting a schedule together for what the construction is going to look like for that bridge. But we're still probably 2 years off from having a completed bridge. It takes about a year to design and then procure a contractor and then construct the bridge. So it could still be a little bit of time till we have completion on that. Another note on bridges, as Chair Payne mentioned before the meeting started, the state MDT is replacing some structures on Highway 21. And I looked up on KXLH this morning. They have a nice article on that project. And it looks like that that section of roadway is going to be closed for about 4 months. So I brought this article. I'm going to leave it here after the meeting if people would like to read that. I'll just read this quick little section here. It says, the Montana Department of Transportation plans to replace 3 key structures along Highway 21, the Elk Creek Bridge, the Elk Creek Overflow culverts, and the Hogan Slough structures. The project is $6.5 million, and it's scheduled to start in March, and it's expected to take until June, causing closures for nearly 4 months. So that sounds like a pretty big project, so if you're not familiar with it, I'll leave this here for anybody who'd like to look. It's a couple pages.
Audra?
Yes.
Do we know, does having that particular road closed, is that gonna cut off access for any of our county citizens? You know, the ranchers that live out there get pretty irate when they can't use the roads.
I would think they would have to find some way that people can access their property. So I just found out about this yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
I looked for this article this morning. Our road manager is coming next month, and he will give an update on what he knows about the project. And at this meeting, we'll continue to give updates as we have information from him. So,
Thank you.
I understand that the bathroom floors are supposed to be replaced. I walked in there, it did not appear that it had been done yet, but that is slated to happen soon. And then there was a window here in the community center that was also replaced here recently. The last thing I have an update on, at the last meeting, I have a follow-up. There was a comment on a weed problem. And I believe it was here at the community center, at the solid waste transfer site, and then Sun Canyon Road, perhaps. Soon after that meeting, our noxious weed division sent out a crew. They did some spraying around the community center. They sprayed at the transfer site, and they did go on a section of Sun Canyon Road. I visited with our past Commissioner Giese this morning, and she kind of pointed out the weeds that maybe the complaint was referring to, and those are considered nuisance weeds, which are not typically what the noxious weed program targets. That's not what their chemicals target. So if it's the nuisance weeds that were the issue, then I'm gonna report that back to our buildings division and have them take a look at the weeds that are around the building and see if we can't control those a little bit here in town.
We have a question, and if you were recording this, so when you have a question, would you come up and state your name and get it on record?
Oh. My name's Terry Clark, I'm an Augusta resident.
Sure.
And one of my concerns is the map. It's basically scattered throughout our whole community. There's a bunch up on the way to Benchmark. There's some right down the street here on Main Street. So, I don't know what the crew does. I know if they go to specific sites, but if you would just like drive the alley or just walk around, you would see the map, and that is not just me, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Thank
It's
you.
actually on the county road going out 434 or something, so. But, if they come and they need help, I'd be glad to show them where it is. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay.
All right, well, that was the last of my update.
Oh, wait a second. She's got a question here. Come up, give your name.
Emily Boyles, I'm an Augusta resident.
Speak into that.
That way?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, not at all.
I'm an Augusta resident, and regarding Highway 21, the project manager is Laura, I'm trying to find her last name here, Laura Langdon, and while she's been really helpful talking to KXL and the media, she's not responding to our local residents with questions about things like the businesses, and especially in my interest, the emergency transportation, because that's an emergency route. Would it be possible for the commissioners to invite her to come to next month's meeting and respond to community questions?
They work for the Department of Transportation, which is a state entity, and we can ask.
She's with KLJ. She's
That's
the
a consulting
contractor.
firm. She's a consulting firm that probably is doing part of the
Right.
design.
We do the best we can,
Thank you.
but we don't do her budget, so we don't have any control.
Understandable, but it might be helpful for our residents if the commissioners intervened on our behalf.
I will try to get
Thank
her
you.
up here.
Thank you.
Just as a point of interest, yesterday I was in a meeting, and there is going to be a new director of the Department of Transportation. The one that's been there is moving on. So maybe we'll see a little more cooperative attitude with whoever the new person is.
You're talking about the regional director out of Great Falls?
No, not the one out of Great Falls, the one out of Helena.
Okay.
Gossip. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Are you gonna comment anything or? No? Okay. Are you
That's
done?
the last of my
Roger? Do you wanna get up and?
Yeah, everyone, we have to record these meetings. You don't have to shout, you don't have to look at the camera. I just wanted to mention, if you do want to speak, just stand at the podium like Audra is, and just speak normally to the commissioners. The technology picks it up just fine. You don't need to worry about it at all. Thank you.
Next victim, the next report is from the Sheriff's Office, and this is Sage Farrell, originally from Helena, Montana. He is grandson of Dave Lewis, if you know Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I knew you did.
So yes, my name is Sage Fairclough. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for about 3 years as a patrol deputy. A couple of things going on with the Sheriff's Office. We have 4 deputies in training right now. I don't know if you've seen me kind of showing them around the Augusta area. They're also touring, the Lincoln area and Craig and Wolf Creek. We have 4 more, I believe we're hiring, and that process is going on down in the valley. So hopefully we have 4 candidates, and then they'll come up here as well and get familiarized with the area. I am up here replacing the previous resident deputy, Deputy Devin Taylor. So I believe the plan, and don't quote me on this, but I believe the plan is to get one of the new hires up here as a resident deputy for you guys. I am commuting from Helena every shift, so it's a bit difficult with drive time and all that to be up here for the full shift. So that is something that I believe the sheriff is working towards. I don't know how long that'll take. Our FTO process, the training process, is quite lengthy, but that's necessary for our job. So I don't know when that'll be completed and ready to go, but I know it is in the works. And as far as the sheriff's office, right now we're working on budgets We just lots of trainings as well. We just had a training. I was not a part of it, but our deputy down in the Wolf Creek and Craig area, he was a part of it. It was joined with the Air Force. It was a very good training they had. So I don't have the debrief on that, but I know our training sergeant, Bob Kenyon, does, and it went very well. So you have to forgive me. I wasn't prepared to come up here and speak to you all today. I'm filling in for the sheriff and undersheriff, so I don't have much to talk about. Being up here, I don't really get to speak with all the captains and the sergeants down in the valley about the ongoings of the office, but
The sheriff usually tells us a joke.
a joke?
A joke.
I don't think I have any that are appropriate.
Neither does he.
Oh.
And neither does Sheriff Dunn. Okay.
So-
Any questions from all of our taxpayers and constituents that are sitting here? Okay, well, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you, guys.
Sometimes you see a man with a gun and a uniform and you just think, oh, thank God they showed up. So, Forest Service report. I don't see any Forest Service people. Public health. Amber, did you want to say anything or not? Introduce your.
I'll have Shelley start.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see Shelley.
I'm just
Oh,
back
there
here.
she is.
Giving shots.
Hi, Shelley.
Hi, I'm Shelley Mogg, a public health nurse with Lewis and Clark Public Health, and as you see, we were doing flu shots. So it is respiratory season, illness season, so RSV, flu, COVID, all that fun stuff that everybody spreads during the winter. So get your shots. We have COVID, flu, RSV shots, pneumonia, which is recommended when you're older. And we have travel vaccines for if you're planning on traveling. We have yellow fever, typhoid, all those fun ones, and everything else in between. So get your vaccines, get immunity, get protected so you don't get sick.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. Next.
Yes, we had a soundtrack today in the background.
Oh, yes.
Childhood vaccines. Thank you, Chairwoman Payne and County Commissioners. My name is Amber Johnson. I am the Communications Specialist at Lewis and Clark Public Health. And yes, today we've had a vaccine clinic. We've been kind of having them all over the county for the month of October. This is a good time to get your vaccine. If you didn't get a chance to today, definitely you can give us a jingle and we'll hook you up with the closest place to get your flu or COVID or RSV. Also for the kiddos, if they haven't been updated on their vaccines, you can chat about grandchildren or children. Give Shelley a call and she can walk you through schedules for childhood immunizations as well. We wanted to take a moment and introduce a couple guests that we have brought with us today. Fajar and Jasper are our visitors today, and they are with the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative Professional Fellows Program, which is a program of the U.S. Department of State and is supported in its implementation by American Councils for International Education and other institute partners, including the Mansfield Center at the University of Montana in Missoula. Applicants are between the age of 25 and 35 and are accomplished working professionals in their home countries and communities. So we are so blessed to have Fajar and Jasper with us for a month. Their first day was Monday, September 29th, and their last day with us is October 24th, which is a Friday. So we're 2 weeks into their fellowship already. We have 2 weeks left. They have been so great. They've been helping staff all of our vaccine clinics this month, as well as they're working on a really awesome creative project with us about STI education and awareness in Lewis and Clark County.
Yes,
So,
SCI?
STI is sexually transmitted infection.
Thank you for
I know you love your
explaining the
acronyms. So I was gonna have them come up and just introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about the work that they do in the Philippines and Indonesia. and talk about what they're doing here. So do you guys want to come up and introduce yourselves and say hi? It's not every day that we get international visitors at Government Day in Augusta, right?
Hello everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for the time, and thank you so much for having us. My name is Muhammad Fajar Fahir, but just call me Fajar. I'm from Indonesia, and back in my country, I work as a public health practitioner working on non-profit organizations, especially for tuberculosis prevention and control. Yeah, I don't know if everyone knows tuberculosis, like TB, because I know that US is not like have a big part in this of the TB. So yeah, I work for Indonesia for tuberculosis because we are have a high prevalence of tuberculosis in the world. Right now we are number 2. So yeah, and we as organizations we work for the empowerment, community development also, and we empower community health workers to help us to find new cases, promoting and educate people, and also give an assistance for people with tuberculosis who have in the treatment. So yeah, I'm so glad and I'm so happy and enjoying my time here in Montana, in Helena especially. And yeah, I met a lot of lovely people and lovely classmates, and also we're working now in a project, and I hope that the project is success and we can give our our product to our classmates in our Louis and Public Health, and also a preview and as our little gift before we back to our home country. And yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Could I want to ask you a question, Victor. I think tuberculosis used to be an issue here. People died of it. I don't think it is now. Is it? I mean, is in Montana, do we have cases of tuberculosis?
In Montana?
Or
I mean, we have, I think the most cases we have is latent tuberculosis, but we do not have a tuberculosis crisis, correct, Shelley? I mean, Shelley could probably speak to this better than I can.
Sorry,
she disappeared?
tuberculosis is not prevalent in Montana. So tuberculosis is not prevalent in Montana. Probably the last case in Lewis Clark County that I can remember we had was, I'm gonna guess, 6 years ago, active tuberculosis. But some people can get exposed, like when they're in the military, et cetera, overseas. And so we do get some latent, which is slow growing kind of tuberculosis in your body. You have the infection, but you're not sick. And so that can be treated. So we do TB skin tests, and if it comes back positive, people can get on treatment and kill the bacteria before it causes illness. So, but it's not prevalent in Montana.
Okay. Yeah. But still, we need to watch for it.
Yeah.
So thank you for the information and educating all of us. Okay.
Oh, and then Jasper.
Jasper.
All right, hi. Thank you, Madam Chair, and the commissioners. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Jasper. I'm from the Philippines. I'm a medical doctor back at home. But in here, I could not practice my medicine, so I'm assisting in any way I can to provide my care to the Americans. Aside from being a medical doctor, I run a nonprofit that focuses on young people's health. So from one infectious disease, tuberculosis, my organization focuses more on STIs, which you just learned today, the acronym, sexually transmitted infection. So I work on HIV, teenage pregnancy as well, mental health, and human rights, because I believe that's what young people need back at home. And we're very happy, aside from what Fajar said, we really look forward to government days, because when we work in public health, people and the community is in need to converse with the people who create decisions, and you should be part of that. So first of all, we'd like to appreciate you guys for exercising that right to be here, and also to our commissioners for always being an open table for discussion. So yeah, that's really the reason why we're here, is to get a glimpse of what the US health system is, and hopefully help back at home to a third world country like ours. And as one citizen of the world, I think it's great to be here, to be treated like a fellow man. And US is Montana is one of the greatest introduction to the US. It's our first time here. So having to have people like you to make us feel how it is to be welcomed in an American way, having your culture celebration. Yesterday we had our pumpkin carving. We don't have that back at home, so that's an experience. So before you discuss more serious matters, we're just happy to have seen you guys in action, as well as also to experience your culture in ways that we see beyond movies and series that we watch back at home. And it's really the warmth that you give us that make us want to stay. The magic of how Montana has been like ingrained in us, and we're 2 weeks in, 2 weeks left, and we'll make most out of it by helping our placements in Lewis and Clark Public Health and Peerview, and maybe just explore more of the city and the state while we're here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Never a dull moment when the health department shows up. Okay, is there any other business?
There is none.
Our next meeting is November 14th, 2025, and I assume it'll be here, same time, same place. We have now come to the part of the meeting where we can take public comment on any public matter within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not on the agenda above. And I caution you, this is you communicating with us. We can't really respond until it's on the agenda so everybody knows we're going to be talking about it. So feel free to tell us what you need, but then don't expect us to do our little magic trick up here.
My name's Tim Troy. I live at 540 Manic Street. I built a house there a few years ago in Augusta. I also co-own residence at 484 Manic Street with my former spouse. I'm here to, I guess, talk to the commission about what I and a lot of other people in our community see as an impending crisis with our domestic water supply. And that has to do with the lowering of the aquifer. I drilled the well for my house at 540 Manic Street in the fall of 2019. And at that time, when it was completed, the static water level was at 16 feet below the top of the casing. I wasn't living here full time, and so I didn't connect the well to my house until the summer of 2020. At that time, the static water level was 14 feet below the top of the casing. It had come up, I guess, from irrigation and whatnot through the spring. Last February, I noticed, so when I set my well in 2020, I set it kind of accordingly with where the water level was in the casing, and it was at 14 feet. Last February, I noticed my water level, my pump was sucking air, and so when it warmed up a little bit in March, I pulled the pump out of the well and extended the suction and hooked it back up, and at that time, on March 15th of 25, the static water level was at 19 feet. As of the 1st of October, it's at 22 feet. So since March, the static water level in my wells dropped 3 feet. My ex-spouse ran out of water. We had a sand point. We built that house. We moved into the house where she lives at 484 Manic Street. In 1981, we put a sand point in the basement, which operated just fine until this summer. She ran out of water. Burned up her pump. She wasn't kind of aware of what was going on. And anyway, ended up drilling a well. When that well was completed on July 15th, static water level was at 21 feet below the top of the casing. Now it's at 23 feet below the top of the casing. So the water level's going down. My sister and her husband live at, I think, 1250 US Highway 287. They drilled a new well on 7/21/25. And at that time, the static water level was 14 feet from the top of the casing. Now, they haven't hooked that well up yet. As of the 1st of October, the static water level was 16.5 feet below the top of the casing. So that aquifer has gone down 2.5 feet between 7/21 and 10/2 of this year. And that well hasn't been developed. A guy named Corey Bronson owns 406 Water, and he told me last week that he had drilled 37 wells this summer in the Augusta and Gilman area. And we've had some dry years here before. My family's been here since 1936. And we haven't ran out of water. We haven't ran out of using this groundwater for domestic purposes until this summer. So I don't blame this on the dry year that we're having. I don't believe it's some people have suggested that maybe we should think about developing a municipal water system for Augusta. I don't know who's talked about that, but I do know in the early 1980s, the school drilled I think they drilled 3 wells over there looking for more a stable water source over at the school grounds, and I think they were drilled to depths of around 40 feet, 80 feet plus or minus, and 100 feet, a little over 100 feet. None of those wells produced potable water. I think the saline content of all those wells was too high for it to be drinkable. So, in my opinion, this is it. You know, if we lose the aquifer that we're using now, we don't have any water option other than in my opinion would be to haul water. So, you know, like I say, my family's been here since '36, and the house that I grew up on about a half mile down the road's been on Sandpoint since then. And our stock water, when I was a kid, I don't know if it is now, but the first water was about 8 feet down. You know, it was a hand dug well. Now I've heard a rumor that the Elk Creek colony pumps between 25 and 40,000 gallons a day from wells down here along Highway 21, a couple miles east of Augusta, to their colony, which is south of town, because they don't have enough water out there to support their commercial industrial farming operation. And I've also heard speculation that the Elk Creek has been dry. Both of the bridges that you cross coming to town today, those creeks have both been dry since 1st of July. There's been no water. I ride my bicycle south on 287 about 3 times a week, and there are 2 ditches south of town, and one of them ran a completely full head of water all summer long. The water was diverted out of Elk Creek and it's going to the south. And the other ditch had a lot of water in it all summer long, and every day Elk Creek was dry. I've heard speculation that the colony is taking that water, I don't know if they have a right to it or not, and they're diverting it to supplement the aquifer that they're using for their commercial farming operation south of town. So, anyway, so, you know, I'm gonna be monitoring the water level in my well for the next month or so, and if it goes any worse or doesn't come up a little bit, I'm looking at putting in a cistern for my system, because we're not gonna have any water, and I may be the first one in the community to put in a cistern, but I'm pretty sure I won't be the last one if something doesn't change with this deal. I went up to Helena last week to go to the DNRC and talk to some folks up there, and I ended up having an automotive problem. I didn't get anything done in Helena and came home, but one of my friends talked to the DNRC, and they said that it takes a court order for anything like that to, there's a dam about 2 miles south of town, here southwest of town on the Augusta Clemens Road, an earthen dam, and the head gates that are out there, there's 4 head gates that take water out of Elk Creek there, and they're all closed at this time, but the dams the water up probably 2 feet above the existing creek flow at this time, you know, so there's a little water seeping around those head gates all the time, and if you notice today, there's still not a drop of water in the creek, you know, so I think it's gonna be a problem if we don't do something, doesn't change in this community. And I'm not sure what it does to property values if we are all on cisterns and have to pay somebody to haul water besides, you know, the prospect of maintaining the cistern and all that stuff, and it can't be good for property values. So when my property value goes down, and everybody else's does too, because they're on a cistern, then do we petition the county for property tax reduction if our property is worth less money? The other concern that I have is that I think every fire well in town is dry. That's all I have.
Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Is there any further public comment? Anything not already on our agenda?
I'm Anita White, and I'm here about the same issue of the water, because that is our only source
State
of
your
water.
name again,
Anita
please.
White.
Anita White, thank you.
And I was water commissioner here for 14 years, my husband and I, before Lloyd took over. And we have dry years too, but we didn't have the Hutterites to deal with. And they can be an issue, you know, because they want their way, and I can understand that, because there's their livelihood too. But if we keep water in this creek out here to where the earliest water rights are, that creek never goes dry. And I think that they're taking water rights, the early rights up above instead of where they're supposed to be taken legally. And I think it's affecting our aquifer. And I think we need to, I don't know what your end of it could possibly be, but I think you need to know what our issues are here. Because like Tim said, we get out of this aquifer and we don't have a water source. I mean, a community water system would be great. It would furnish a water source, but we don't have one. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Can I share one other thing?
If there's nobody else who would like to speak first, is there anybody else has another issue? If not, then you can trot up there and say your name and we'll call it part 2.
Yeah, my name's still Tim Troy, still live at 540 Manic Street, Augusta. My question, I guess, to the commission would be, does the county commission, you represent us, I guess we don't, you know, we're an unincorporated town. Do you have legal resources available through the county attorney's office that you could use to investigate this issue for us? I understand that, you know, for anything much to be done, that it takes a district judge to make a ruling. And my question is whether or not the county commission has any resources available. If they'd be willing to use, I know that there's several assistant county attorneys that they'd be willing to use to look into this matter for us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
Lloyd Allen, I live at 310 Laura Street, and I totally understand what everybody's talking about as far as the water has been going down. The only thing I want to talk about is I am the water commissioner and appointed by the court, by the water court. So there.
Excuse me, Lloyd, you're the water commissioner for Elk Creek?
Elk Creek, right.
Okay, thank you.
And if I just want to, so people understand that when you're talking about groundwater and surface water, that's 2 separate issues. I mean, the water courts will view it as 2 separate issues. The other one is that I heard that someone above Augusta was taking water that they weren't supposed to. That's part of my job, is to make sure that those that have water right are getting their water. Okay, and I know that above the 2 places that they're talking about, both of them have got I think it's 1898 and 1871 water rights. So we're talking, they've had it for a long, long time. And this summer, there was only two head gates that got any water, because there was no water in the creek. And the rest of the problem, and above them, I have checked it more than once, and nobody got water above there. The only ones that were getting water was they had water in nylon. Nylon started at about 50%, I should probably explain. Nylon is a local dam that is owned by the state, that is managed by nylon water users. They took all the water they could out of that, dumped it in the creek, and that's some of the water that people saw this summer that was getting it. And my job was to take the water, because they had each person in nylon, they have shares. Okay, those shares are entitled to that portion of water. They got their portion of water, and then this fall there's still water there, but they had to shut it down because afraid of getting it so low that they would suck the muck out of the bottom, and we had to work on the head gate here about 2 years ago, and we ended up with muck in the head gate, and we're still fighting that issue. Because you can't get, because it's a 2-gate system, and you can't, necessarily get it to close as tight as you want, and tight as the DNRC, which oversees all of this, would prefer. So they didn't want to make the problem any worse. So I don't know if this helped explain anything, but we have been monitoring it. I mean, and I'm just as concerned as everybody else is about the static water. I mean, and the question about the Hutterites is, they are actually on what the state calls Hogan's Slough. I'm not an engineer, I don't know how all this water flows back and forth, but that's on the south side of the river, and we're talking about the north side of the river. So the question is where Augusta gets its water. The ones I've been told is more coming from the water that Mosher puts on their hayfield, and all the water, and out of the creek. So if it ain't in the creek, because the water isn't in the creek, available for the creek. So I mean, there's a lot of issues here.
Lloyd, thank you for your comments, and just as an addition, my husband and I went up to the Nylon Reservoir I think it was in July, and I was shocked we went up there, oh, it's so pretty, oh, look, where's the water? Oh, it's clear down there. And I'll bet there is 1/4 mile of bare sand between where the lake is supposed to be and where the water is. The boat launch, you can't get a boat in there because the boat launch is cleared. And I mean, this is not just a problem here, it's a problem. And I at one time did live in northeastern Montana, had a sister, hauled every drop of my water for me and my family. So, yeah, but it can be done.
Now, on the nylon, since you brought it up, nylon was actually a pond, or I don't know what you'd call it, a pond originally, and that's how, and because of the drought in the 30s is the reason they built nylon, trying to get a backup source of water for the creek and the farmers and everybody else. And they're on, unless you knew about it, you probably didn't pay attention. The main water is way out there, and there is 2 trenches that go to each. One goes to the north dam, one goes to the east dam, and that's the trench that will suck the water out. So I mean,
I didn't notice that.
I mean, until you.
It's a complicated issue, and it isn't something that is gonna just go away tomorrow.
Yeah,
And
the other issue is that my grandmother Nelson used to have the Bama place up there, which is on Fleming Road. And anyway, they had it, and she tells the story of back in the 30s where there was no water in the creek, that she was trying to get enough, there was a little bit of water in, and she was trying to water corn, garden corn. And Leo Zimmer had an earlier water right. He went in, he took the water from them, so they didn't get no more water for the corn, and he watered his potato patch, and he basically made the boast, or said that if he hadn't gotten the water to irrigate his potato patch, they would have starved. So I mean, not that this wasn't bad, but we've been through some tough times before.
thank you, Lloyd.
Yep.
Well, we haven't heard from you for a while, come on up.
Do you have a good thing?
What? No, that's fine, we've been missing you, it's been very dull. That's why we picked on the sheriff.
Carol Pickford, 91 Clemson Road. I was just glad Lloyd got up. I just hear a lot of what I think is misinformation around town on the water. I'm not a Hutterite, but I see them getting blamed for everything. And I can't imagine how they can be at fault for something that, like Lloyd said, and we lived out there, we've had the property since 1950. It has to do, we're in a terrible drought year.
Yes, we are.
And if you look, and they look around at where the green fields are, the properties where the 3 head gates come out are on our property. I see who's working on the head gates, I see who's doing it, Lloyd controlled it and stuff this year. The point people don't always understand when they see these people get water is a lot of them got nylon water because they bought it. So whether it was Justin Krause, whether it was the Youngs, whether it was the Hutterites, they bought water and then Lloyd let it down to them. Well, sure, they got the water, but they bought it. Now, has anybody else? But they very nicely shut off a lot of that water and tried to let it go down for the town. And the Hutterites farm our place and theirs, and they never run one of their pivots this year out there. And on our place, they ran it 2 days. So we had no crops. They voluntarily, there was no water. And Lloyd can attest to that. So some of this stuff on blaming anybody, Lloyd made the remark before, he's tired of getting blamed. There just is no water. People gotta understand that. And however we deal with this in the future and all these having to drill wells, and all I know is everybody's out of stock water. They're hauling water when they have them in these fields. There's no pasture for the cows. We've got the horses. We're continually moving it. But we've got to work together and figure this out. But blaming any one entity, the Hutterites aren't stealing all the water. They're only taking what they have, but not even taking that right now. It's just not there. You know, it bothers me the aquifer is falling. We just hope for 5 foot of snow every day this winter. I don't, you know, we gotta do something, but I don't see the answer for that. But it's not down here that we're gonna handle that. And people may have to worry about future as keep building and stuff out. Some of these irrigation wells that are around other places, I don't know if they bother the aquifer or not, but I know that I always have felt that earthquake in Lincoln changed our underground rivers here because of where our flood went that year and because of the flood. Everything changed, but it changed our underground aquifers. And I'm not a hydrologist, but I watch it, and I've said since 1950, and yes, there's been cycles. We did away with no water, or we had water running over top of the bridge. And I just say, you learn to live with it, and you protect yourself, and it does no good pointing at everybody. That's just, and whatever help on, I think, doing the hydrology thing around here, they did it for the floods, and finding out what our aquifer and what the changes and if they see anything. But it's no one entity. The waters went to China. It went down. It's not there. Lloyd can tell you that. He wants to sit.
Well, thank you, Carol. I appreciate your remarks. They're right on target.
Comes to all of us.
Well, it does impact all of us. It's like our clean air. You know, we all have to breathe this. And if you've got something to say, you trot right up there and say it. Give us your name. Well, don't give it to us. State your name.
Arlene Allen. I can assure you I have logged every mile alongside of Lloyd all summer long as he does his water. People are forgetting this isn't just here. Go up to Nylon. I mean, there's no water there. I mean, it's down in the middle. Water comes into Nylon from Ford Creek, Elk Creek.
Smith Creek.
The water comes in at Ford Creek. The water comes into Ford Creek. If we're lucky, they can bring water over from Smith Creek. There's no water, there's hardly any water in Smith Creek. This spring, there was no water in Ford Creek. Lloyd cannot magically get water into Nylon. It has to come from the mountains the snowpack into those creeks. That's all there is to it. And he can tell me, he's been here his whole life. Like he was talking about his grandmother. This is not the first time this has gone on. Lloyd was a farmer forever. He knows the desperation for the need of water. That isn't even a question. But he isn't going to do anything illegal. And if there's anybody in this town that thinks that they're going to attack this man about doing anything illegal, giving water to anybody that they're not supposed to, I'll meet him at the door. Because this man will not do anything illegal. And that's all there is to it. Yes, there's got to be something. Hopefully we can get this situation under control. We got to have the snowpack in the mountains. You can go clear up to Wood Lake. We've been hearing this all summer. All those creeks clear up into the mountains are gone dry. It's not just right here. And every time I hear somebody say, well, have you noticed that Elk Creek is dry? He looks at it every day and he can tell you all the particulars about how long it's been dry. But it's not his fault. And nobody better be going that way.
He might be the one. He needs to go to church more. If he prayed about this, I'm sure that there would be, it could help. So that's maybe one thing we could do. Lloyd, are you done?
If he could turn some more water on, he would.
Okay, thank you, Arlene. Further comment?
Water also comes from the sky.
That's why I'm saying, go to church. There's some of this stuff we can't control. What we can control is how we use it. Well, hello.
Hello, my name is Susan Good-Geesey, and my husband also drilled a well preemptively because we didn't want to run out of water in February, because then we would really be in a jam. But I have some suggestions, and this is for everybody. We are not alone in this issue, and certainly I have no crystal ball, but I would suggest that in the future we're going to see more and more of this as the climate changes. Regardless of whose fault it is, in my mind, there's no doubt that the climate is in fact changing. And Audra might be able to shed some light on this. There is, at the legislature, and the session will be coming up in 2027, there is a grant source that is available through the legislature. It is competitive. But what I would suggest is, as one of the previous speakers mentioned, that we had that big study that the county paid for. We got a grant that helped pay for that on the flood, and the county might be able to talk with some of the legislators who represent this area, that they would request the DNRC and the USGS to take a look at what the long-term effects of this might be, to find out, and this is not just for Augusta, this is for the North Valley of Helena. When we zoned out there, caught hell for it, and continue, but the fact was that there was not enough water out there for all the houses that were being proposed. And you can't de-water somebody and destroy their property right, because for most people, their home is their main source of their wealth that they're going to transfer to their children. You can't de-water somebody. So this issue affects the whole county, not just Augusta. So it would be my hope that the commission could encourage the legislators to make a request during the legislative session that this study be funded so that we can find out what's going on in the North Valley, what their water situation is, and come up with some suggestions so that people who want to develop more out there, we don't have to have that awful density requirement that we have now. But here in Augusta, when you've got so many houses that are being dewatered, this could be the end of our town. So I think that the only solution is to look for the cause, to see what the facts are, regardless of who's taking what from who. I don't know, because I don't know anything about that. But this is a way that I believe we would be successful. I believe that the legislative action could be successful because this is something that is affecting not only us, I'm sure it's affecting other counties, we're just not aware of it. So that would be my suggestion, to get to the root of it, see what the deal is, see what the future looks like, see what possibilities are that we can't even imagine right now. But I think it's gonna take a legislative fix and a big appropriation. And Lou Jones, who is the king of appropriations at the legislature, I've already talked to him about this issue. He's well aware of it. We'll do his utmost to make sure that study moves through. Yes, ma'am.
Susan, as I said, I lived in northeastern Montana and hauled water for years, and about the time I left there, they were able to get grants to put in a municipal water system for that town. And do you know if any kind of, have we looked at a municipal water system for Augusta to be paid for by the people who are benefiting from it? Because if there is a municipal water system, it increases your property values. Is that something that would play along with your request for the study to be funded, or is this something we can work on?
I don't know that those two, Commissioner, Madam Chairman, I don't think those two issues should be tied.
Okay.
Because the emphasis needs to be one that is holistic. Because this affects the entire county. I mean, we're just here in one of the locus of it, but like I mentioned before, where there's way more people is out in the North Helena Valley. And those people also need to figure out what they can do so that if we can get some relief, if we can find an answer, then more development can take place out in the valley. But until the water situation is clarified, because nobody really knows, that's why those barriers are in place, those yellow lights flash that say caution, caution, caution before you develop out there. You can't put so many straws in the drink. So we gotta figure out what the drink is, how deep is it, and maybe the Water Quality Protection District might have something that they might be able to add to that. Of course, they don't come up here to Augusta, but I would suggest that their input would be part of the request that would be made when we would go to the legislature. They've got the cash.
Who's head of the Water Quality Protection District? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who's the head of that?
Of the Water Quality Protection District? Yeah,
It's through the Public Health Department.
Yes,
yeah, and it is McBroom, Jennifer McBroom.
Of course, I knew it.
Is there anything else for me? Anything else you want me to
Just
say?
wisdom. Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
I just came here to, sit down and be quiet.
But she's already spoken. Oh, we let it speak twice. You just go up there. Okay. Nobody objects.
Good evening, White. And I just want to make a clarification. I was not attacking anybody. What I'm saying, and I know this has been a long-term issue, back in the 30s. My husband was born and raised in this area, as his father was. And his grandfather used to say, "What whiskey's for drinking, water's for
This
fighting
is
over."
Montana, that's
And
the
so
way it
it's
is.
nothing new. But, and then Lloyd said too, when his grandmother was trying to water her corn, Leo Zimmer needed the water, and he had an earlier right, so he got to water his potatoes instead. And that's our issue here, but our earliest rights are right here, right out of town here. And why, and like I said, when they watered down here at the old Kink place, he's got a very early right. There was water in the creek, because it had to be, just like Zimmer taking the water away from the corn patch. So it, you know, if, like I said, if water is kept to the early rights, and the owners of those early rights are required to take them out there and not anywhere else by state law, then that creek never goes dry.
I think they have a designated point of diversion for
Right.
every historic water right, and I'm pretty sure.
You know, and as far as nylon goes, there, like you said, there hasn't been any water in nylon, so a lot of that, whatever was in there was diverted early and released. And so we're not talking nylon water for the last couple of, 3 months? So.
Okay,
Or
that's
any
it.
other.
Thank you for your
And
comments.
as far as a community water system, it would be great if you had a source, and we don't.
I don't know where the source for this water comes from. Okay, is there any further comment? Seeing none, I'm adjourning this meeting. We'll see you on November 14th.